who does care about Star Wars? Who cares about a movie that grossed $2 billion?
Yeah.
Dollars. Speaking of movies that grossed $2 billion, I saw Avengers: Infinity War. On Monday.
1, 2, 3, 4 in Infinity War.
I thought you were doing the 76ers, Philadelphia 76ers tune then.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4 is an Infinity War. That's what
It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6s. That's how it goes. So yeah, it's very similar.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
the beats.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It kind of just sounds like they're showing off about being able to count to 6.
And then they go backwards. And then the next line
impressive.
is 10, 9, 8, 76ers. How about that? Now, I saw Infinity War, and it was it was unlike any other Marvel movie I have ever seen, as you mentioned. You know what? You really shouldn't say that.
To be fair, I would like it on record. I didn't know it was true. I just said it. When I said it, I don't know it's true. I heard it, but that doesn't mean I know it's true. But yeah, you're right. I shouldn't say it.
I'm here to tell you it is true.
I heard that. I think it was kind of like difficult to not hear.
I had no idea. I think I did very well in shielding myself.
Agents of shielding yourself.
Agents have shielded myself from all the spoilers.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I was too 4chan-y, so. And that basically, it'll be a really interesting movie to dive in when they've all been resurrected in part 2.
Back up, chump, you know Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get with the hoods, fatigues, with the boots, with trees. Flipping cheese, making crazy cheese. Hitting buckshots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pippin' hoes that drive Volvos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make a wet in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox. Grip the Glock when I walk down the crowded block. Just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out and blow the motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up upon a second watch. Today, we will be looking at the foreseeable future of films, aka a Star Wars film every year until we die.
It's gonna be fun.
Did you like how it sounded like I was going to say The Force Awakens, but I tricked you. We are actually, of course, reviewing The Force Awakens, and Luke. Oh, wait, I am Michael, of course, and my co-host is Luke. Luke, why don't you tell us a bit about The Force Awakens?
By the way, Michael, just to let everyone know, we're doing The Force Awakens because hopefully this podcast will be released on 4th of May. It's obviously Star Wars.
Yes.
Or May the 4th, as it's said in America. And also Solo's coming out in a little under a month. So yes, Star Wars, The Force Awakens. It's a 2015 epic space opera film. Produced, co-written, directed by J.J. Abrams. And it's the first installment of the new Star Wars sequel trilogy, and the 7th in the Star Wars franchise. And in chronological order, of course, it follows the 6th one, which is Return of the Jedi. The film stars Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, barely, Carrie Fisher, Glenn Driver, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Lupita Nyong'o, Andy Serkis, Domhnall Gleeson, Anthony Daniels, Peter Mayhew, and Max von Sydow. And it was released December 18th, 2015. And you want to have a crack at the budget. By the way, before you do, I just want to say, Wikipedia have been doing this thing recently, where they have the gross budget and the net budget alongside each other. And I don't like it. I like one number.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Do you know what the difference is? Because I don't.
No, I mean, that's net is it's like taking out the costs. But I don't get it for a budget, because isn't the budget just all costs?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I do know what net... I mean, see, I would think the only thing I do know is that, obviously, a lot of the time marketing isn't included in the budget of a film. So maybe it's telling you the marketing too. I don't know. What I like, though, is it means I have twice as much chance of being right.
Okay, so I think then we should just go on the net budget from now on, because the gross budget couldn't entail stuff like marketing.
So what you're saying is that I don't have twice as much chance.
Okay.
It's an interesting question, actually, Luke, because, I assume that they would have been willing to invest a lot of money in this film. They wouldn't have been worrying about losing money. Having said that, I'm going to go for see, I think this is going to be the biggest budget of any film we've looked at so far. And I can't think of the budgets of previous ones. I'm going to go for 300 million.
The net budget was 258 million.
Okay.
And the gross was 306.
You've got a photographic memory for numbers. If numbers were taken of photographs, you would have a photographic memory. Sorry, not numbers. If photographs were taken of numbers, you'd have a photographic memory.
Uh-huh.
Have we ever had a budget on this show that's been more than $258 million?
Probably not.
Good, because that was my premise.
Avengers: Age of Ultron, I think, is around there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the biggest. Anyway, it's a big budget. Do you want to have a
Yeah, well, they had to go into space to film it.
Yeah, obviously.
You know what? If
there was no green screen with this movie, unlike the prequels. So
yeah, exactly. No green screen means they were in space.
Yeah.
And have a guess at the box office. Well, you actually gave it away a bit because you said, but I would have guessed this anyway. So I know it's over 2 billion. The problem is, obviously, I need to probably get it down a bit more. So I'm going to go for 2 billion, and then let's go for 2 billion and then 180 million.
2 billion and 68 million.
Okay. That's
so
not bad.
Only just 2 billion, which is it's a nice mark to hit. Like, obviously, I imagine Disney would have been happy if it just reached that 1.99 billion. Just the fact that it got over that 2 billion hump, that must look good. Looks nice.
It does look nice.
Yeah, it does. So anyway, Michael, shall we get on to nitpicks then?
Well, first of all, Luke, I have to ask you.
Oh, yeah.
Who is? I feel like we need a more natural way of making this work, because it seems like it never really happens.
No.
Luke, did you, to be honest, it would actually maybe in the future you should just ask me if I like the film.
Yeah,
because
I probably should. That's the right way to go, thing. And to be honest, we should probably talk about the plot before the nitpicks as well.
Yeah, sure, why not? Let's mix things up a bit. So, which one of us is going to ask now?
I'll ask Michael.
I'll
This
leave it to you.
this from now on. So, Michael, did you like The Force Awakens?
This is quite something, Luke. I sort of hated this film.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which, yeah, I mean, did you like it, Luke?
I liked it. It was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't sort of hate it.
Yeah, see, I mean, famously, when Rogue One came out, I said that... I don't know why I said this, actually. I don't know why I said this now and not earlier, but I remember saying that I now hated, or said I now disliked the majority of Star Wars films that had come out. And you said, wait, does that mean you didn't like The Force Awakens? And I said, I didn't like it, or I thought it was okay, basically, I said. But upon watching it again, I've got to say, Luke, I don't know, we'll get into that, won't we, of course?
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, but yeah, that's why I was thinking it could definitely be interesting. But yeah, okay, we're going to do your crazy thing of not doing the nitpick, so why don't you explain the plot?
Okay, so the plot: 30 years after the Galactic Civil War, First Order has risen, and the fallen Galactic Empire seeks to eliminate the New Republic, and basically both the Resistance and the First Order are looking for a map which leads to Leia Skywalker's brother, Luke Skywalker. They find the Resistance fighter pilot Poe Dameron finds it on Jakku. He's captured by the First Order, and then BB-8 escapes, who's his droid, finds Rey, and they find Finn, who has escaped from the First Order. He's been a traitor to them. Then they all go and get in the Millennium Falcon, fly off Jakku, find Han Solo, pick him up. Then there's a lot of death when the First Order kill a bunch of planets. And then after that, the First Order seek to, basically Rey is captured by Kylo Ren, who's the evil son of Han Solo, and then Kylo Ren decides that, Rey escapes, and Kylo Ren and the First Order decide that they're going to blow up the Resistance base, and they don't succeed in doing that because of the pilots, like Poe Dameron and all that. They break in to the Starkiller base, whatever it's called, disable the main weapon, and blow it all up. And while that's happening, Rey fights Kylo Ren. And that's pretty much it. Then Rey goes, after defeating Kylo Ren, goes and talks to Luke Skywalker. Or doesn't talk, actually. She just tries to hand him a lightsaber. And
she succeeds in handing him a lightsaber, Luke, I assume. I assume that Luke's going to... It's really confusing that they're both called Luke, by the way. How can I say there? It's really confusing that you and someone else have the same name.
I know. Just happens to be one of the most famous people in all of cinema.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. So that is the story. That is the plot.
That's a Star Wars story.
Yes, it is a Star Wars story, and it has taken a lot from a certain other Star Wars movie, and obviously we will discuss that. But yeah, do you want to get into nitpicks then?
Yes, okay. So, I've got 5.
Go
on. Okay, I mean, do you have fewer?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, yeah, so I get to go first. I'm just going to do this in no particular order. It's actually been a while since I wrote these down originally, because this is slightly later than we usually record the podcast. So, my first criticism is this. Poe Dameron, he's watching Kylo Ren kill these people. He has this special, this really important map on him that could possibly save the Empire. And he tries to shoot Kylo Ren, and I'm thinking, like, there should be a point when you've been engaged in this war where you would come to realize the whole, like, I mean, the other thing is, he should know, like, that he's not going to be able to kill him. But
he's saying he should just run away.
Well, what I'm saying is he should escort the droid away, because I feel like one of the classic things that happens in fantasy and action adventure films is there's that moment where the character, they want to stop the bad guy, but they can't because they realize, they've got a more important purpose. But in this situation, he basically just he does the stupid thing. So what usually happens is it's like you've got the wise mentor and the stupid person, and the stupid person's like, I'm going to get that person, and then the wise person's like, no, you shouldn't do it. But in this case, he just does the stupid thing. He's like, I'm going to get him, and then he gets caught. And I was like, obviously you're going to get caught. I mean, yeah, like I say, I was thinking to myself, he's supposed to be like he's got this very clear mission, and I feel like one of the things that they kind of drill into you in most military scenarios is like I don't know what it's called. What do they call it? The Prime Directive. That's it.
Prime Directive. That's from Star Trek, Michael.
It is. Anyway, before you can respond to that, you know what? I wrote down the word coincidence. This one arguably doesn't count because I wrote this. One of my nitpicks I wrote down was that something was a bit of a coincidence. Little did I know, Luke, even though I did know. Well, I should have remembered, but eventually I realized, like, okay, if I write down everything, it's a coincidence. I will say this, that it's incredibly lucky if you land on a desert planet and be close to civilization. Because, I mean, if you landed in the Sahara, Luke, you would be fucked.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. Like, one of my nitpicks is Finn and Poe crash land very close to BB-8.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I wrote down was, coincidence. And, yeah. And, okay, it is incredibly easy for Rey to steal the junk dealer's ship, to the extent that you think, like, it's pretty reckless of him. Like, they're literally just like, oh, let's just walk in. And then, I don't think there's no...
Well, maybe there's somebody guarding it, but obviously they're not guarding it anymore, because obviously they're being attacked.
Good. There we go, that's actually good. That's in your headcanon. Okay, this one actually is really important. I think this one might be the most important one, actually, so I might leave it till last. Yeah, okay. I'm going to leave this one till last, because this is the one I want to end on. So, before that, the Starkiller base happens to need, and this is minor, but it happens to need exactly 1 sun's worth of energy to charge. Because they're like, okay, as long as there's some sun, it still hasn't charged enough. And I'm thinking to myself, well, hold on a minute. What are the chances that it would need exactly, like, surely it either is going to stop, just need, like, most of the sun and fire before then, or it's going to need all of the sun and a bit more. The chance that it needs exactly 1 sun's worth of energy seemed very unlikely. But this is the one I want to end on, because this is my big one. There's this thing called the Rathgar, I think. Is it called the Rathgar?
You mean the Raptors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only wrote down the nitpick after they'd already finished speaking the name, and I forget names immediately.
And you couldn't be bothered to look it back up.
No. I didn't go through my nitpicks. Go on. Anyway, the Rathgar, got it wrong again, didn't I? It kills everyone immediately. Yep. So there's all these people on there. It kills everyone immediately. Then it picks up Finn, and it drags him through this ship for ages. Like, it's not even like, it takes them a second longer to kill Finn. It's like, it takes ages to kill him.
You know what, Michael? That was also What about
Yeah.
nitpicks? That was also that. Like you say, the Rattata just picks up Finn and starts carrying him. Doesn't kill him like everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost the Rattata knows Finn is a main character.
Yes, exactly. That's good. Give me yours, Luke.
Okay, so basically, I've got a lot of convenience ones,
Okay.
which, like you, we could say that when talking about the plot, because it did get to a stage where I was just writing these down. I was like,
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just talk about the convenience. Well, do all your ones that aren't convenience, and then we'll talk about convenience immediately afterwards.
So, I think if there's everything.
Everything's convenience.
I think no, I've got one. Okay, so why does Rey think, and why do people in the galaxy think that Luke Skywalker is a myth? Like, it's been 30 years since he was around saving the galaxy. Like, there's people who are still alive, who are adults back then, who aren't still adults now. I assume everybody knows who Luke Skywalker is, and I don't get why he would be a myth.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense. Like, if 30 years ago, what happened 30 years ago, Michael? In the year
well, you know what? It's very hard to remember when, 1988, Ronald Reagan was elected to his second term.
That was in 84.
Oh, wait, no, he was elected to his, sorry, George Bush was elected to his first term.
Yeah, the fall of the Berlin Wall was in 89. It's like saying, wow, the Berlin Wall fell, or there was a Berlin Wall, I thought that was just a myth. Or something like that.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know how sophisticated...
you got people around you who were alive back then.
Yeah, because mass media... Like, I don't understand how... Because you would assume that they would have very sophisticated mass media, considering it's clearly a futuristic society. So obviously, like, the thing is, they don't seem to have a news network in Star Wars, but presumably they do. Like, and yeah, you would literally just... When the Galactic Empire collapses, that would be like a big thing. Like, you just YouTube it. Star Wars YouTube it. You'd just be like, Luke Skywalker. Like, that's the thing, if the internet exists in the Star Wars universe, Luke Skywalker would bring up thousands of hits. He was around when people people had cameras when he was around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That goes into the whole thing of why isn't the Star Wars universe more advanced, considering all the technology that they have.
Yes. Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah, like, where's their internet?
But yes, let's talk about convenience.
Okay, yes. So you and me both had a lot of nitpicks when it came to convenience, and this is the thing. The first time I watched this movie, I realized how much convenience there was. But watching it back, and you're like, oh yeah, like this is kind of crazy. So I'll just start off. We said that obviously Hindenburg crash landed so close to BB-8 in Jakku.
Yeah.
But there's also the biggest one, that the Millennium Falcon, Rey, and the map are all located at the specific area of Jakku. Just a random planet in the galaxy, and these three main things, obviously the Falcon, the ship, the map to Luke Skywalker, and the powerful Jedi, all in the same area on just one planet. They just happen to be there. It's kind of crazy.
Yes, I agree. That is insane.
Yeah, what are the odds?
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about this later when we're talking about the plot a bit more, but it's quite convenient for Poe Dameron that it seems as if stormtroopers don't go AWOL very often, and it is pretty convenient that the one that did happen to do so after he just got caught. But yeah, I want to talk about that. Like, yeah, I mean, that's the only one I can think of before.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That kind of has to kick the story into gear.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones where it's like, okay, that's what we need to happen for there to be a story. But like, it's you have.
But they could have made a story out of them getting to the Millennium Falcon. What I'm saying, yeah.
Just Rey just had
You're right.
all the Millennium Falcons right there. It's like whatever. So moving on to the next one, Han Solo and Chewbacca managed to find the Millennium Falcon immediately after Rey and Finn escaped.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know the size of the Star Wars galaxy. I imagine it's pretty big.
I imagine it's galaxy sized.
Yeah, think of a galaxy. Like, that's how big the Star Wars galaxy
we can't even
is.
think of a galaxy. That's how big a galaxy is.
Exactly.
Like, we can't think of the Earth. Think about the room you're in right now, Luke, and realize how much bigger the Earth is than your room, and then realize how tiny your Earth is in the solar system. You're like,
yeah,
galaxies, Luke, light years across.
It's like running into two people. Just another person on Earth. Like, you just get dropped into random places on Earth. You just happen to come across them. It's
Yeah, and that's Earth.
pretty insane. Yeah. So another incredible piece of luck for Ray and Finn. And,
Yes.
again, very convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got anything to add on that? Or not?
No.
Okay.
I think it speaks for itself.
Yes, it does speak for itself. And actually, you know what? I had one other nitpick that I didn't bring up.
Okay.
The First Order decides to blow up a load of planets, but they don't blow up the Resistance one. Why?
They're idiots, Luke.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they're idiots.
They can blow up like 5 planets in a row, but apparently probably the most important one, or maybe the second most important one. You know, obviously you got Coruscant, which is where the Republic is. You know, you got to blow up that one because they're the government.
And you've got to blow that one up because then it retcons the prequels.
Yeah, exactly.
They were like,
that's why you got to blow it up.
The First Order is like, we must retcon the prequels. And then Kylo Ren's talking to the Darth Vader mask. And he's like, I will avenge you. They turned you into a whingy kid who hated sand. I like that.
Pod racing.
I like the idea
didn't know what pod racing was.
I like the idea that the First Order are a bunch of angry Star Wars fans trying to retcon the prequels. And then George Lucas is the hero. George Lucas is like, it's like poetry. So,
George Lucas gets out his little laser sword and goes to town.
Goes to town.
Kylo Ren. Oh, I had a vision. Oh. That was my George
anyway.
impression.
Sounded like Chewbacca.
Oh, I had a vision.
Anyway.
Yeah, anyway. So, so that's, again, like, what a nitpick that needs to be pointed out. There are a lot of holes in this movie, basically.
Yeah. The main character has a lot of holes because she's a damn woman. I've had it with women's in my Star Wars films.
Yeah, that's
Feminazis.
surprising. Like, a lot of Star Wars fans, well, I don't want to say a lot, but proportion, did not like the fact that, you got Rey, who's a woman, and Finn, who's an African American. Well, he's actually British, the actor.
Yeah.
He's an African American.
He's an African American in the Star Wars universe because everyone in the Star Wars universe has an American accent except for Liam Neeson.
Yes.
Who else has a Chancellor Palpatine.
What? Daisy Ridley.
Oh yeah, Daisy Ridley.
Yeah,
what am I, Daisy
character.
Ridley? This can make the castle run in 14 parsecs.
When she was fighting with the people who were trying to capture BB-8, in that village in the desert, when they put the cover around BB-8, she goes "Oi!" like that, like a real
You want some?
Londoner.
Oi! You like hospital food, do
What
you?
are you doing with my droid?
Get out of here, you slag! It's exactly what she sounds like.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. She's actually really she's really wealthy. I think even before this whole acting thing.
Well, yeah, I think that's a general rule of thumb.
Yeah,
Bloody
guess so.
privileged white women. I wonder if John Boyega was privileged.
I doubt it.
Wow, Luke, that's racist.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's not African American. Black British people don't have as much wealth as white people. I think that is a fair comment.
Yeah, it is true.
Yeah. Anyway, right, off the whole race thing.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the plot.
Yes. I have 2 general things to say about the plot, spread over 4 paragraphs.
You know what, Michael? I think that's a bit too long.
No, to be fair, okay, it's not actually 4 paragraphs really. It's 4 lines basically. It's just because in each case, there was something later on in the film that made me think about it again. That's basically why it's 2 things.
Well, you go first then. What's the first thing you want to say about the plot?
Okay, I'm gonna say this because I feel like I say it a lot, but this time it's different. Okay, so I'm just gonna say the word and let you deal with it. Action, but it's not my standard. This film has too much action in it, even though this film does have too much action in it. My thing is this. Okay, so Star Wars has a really great thing going because it tells you the plot right away, and it's like such a great advantage. Because usually, people hate exposition. It's like, oh, exposition sucks. and you've got to come up with an inventive way of putting it in there. But Star Wars, the best thing about it is that it has established as a trope of the franchise that you're not expected to get the exposition out in a clever way. You literally just have a scroll that tells you everything that's happening in the universe. And that's really good, because what it means is, when you have the first action scene, you already kind of know where you stand. So it's like, the rebels have the plans. Pew, 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 pew. So it's really good. The thing is, so I was perfectly fine with the first action scene. And I'm not complaining because there was an action in the beginning. But what kind of bothered me about this film was that I felt the action got very monotonous. Because it was literally like, and I kind of wanted to, I didn't get around to doing it, I actually wanted to rewatch this film so I could kind of just write down each time this happens, but it was basically action scene, conversation scene, action scene, so I mean just kind of off the top of my head, action scene at the beginning, like I said, that's fine, then they rescue Poe Dameron, then they have the big spaceship fight, you know, TIE fight. Do you know what TIE stands for, by the way?
No.
It stands for Twin Ion Engine.
Ah, wow.
That's a bit of trivia for you.
I thought it was just because a bunch of Thai people were...
That's a Family Guy joke.
No, like, it is a Family Guy joke, but I would have thought of it anyway.
Good. I trust you.
Okay.
Anyway, and then they crash on this thing. He goes to meet Daisy Ridley. What happens? Suddenly, pew, 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 straight into the sand. Oh, we gotta go. Da, 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 da. And and then they go and they meet Han Solo, and then it's like, oh wait, it's a Rancor. It's not a Rancor. Rancor, it's called a Ratcar or something.
Sounds a lot like the thing from episode 6.
Yeah, Rancor and Ratcar sound far too similar.
Well, it's not. It's Rathtar.
Rathtar. Yeah,
get it right.
The thing I just made up. The thing I just made up called Radcar. It's very simple. Anyway, and you think about, for example, the first film. You've got the first action scene, and then it's kind of just they're chilling on this desert planet, and then they get to the Death Star, and it's only when they get to the Death Star that the action happens. And I'm just going to say, like, IMHO, that makes it more meaningful. What you really want is you want your action scene at the beginning, Jabba's palace, Hoth, space, and then nothing for ages. Go to Dagobah, go to Cloud City, go to Ewok Land, go to Desert Planet still, and then you got your third act, which is beep, 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 and it works. This thing, it was just, yeah, like I say, it was, hi there, my name's Poe. Beep, 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 beep. All right, my name's Finn. Beep, 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 beep. Hey there, my name's Ray. Beep, 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 beep.
I thought you were going to do a London accent.
Oh, yeah, my name's Ray.
There we go. There we go.
Beep, 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 beep. Hi there, my name's Harrison Ford. Beep, 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 beep. And that's the film.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I wrote that the movie really, it just like flows from one like action scene to another. Like it's just constantly going. It's a very fast pace, and the only moment where it slows down really I can remember is when Leia and Han meet for the first time.
Yeah.
Back in the movie, it's like then everything is quieting down as them two have their moment together. But apart from that, yeah, it is like constant action, and you're right, it does sort of cheapen the end of the movie when you get this action, but like seeing it all throughout the movie.
Yes.
So yeah, it devalues it.
And I have my other general. This is maybe not necessarily a criticism, but just something I think would have made the film work better. So one of the big things in this film, and in my opinion this is a big thing, is that it shows us a stormtrooper rebelling. And I find that really interesting. One of the things I was kind of thinking though is that it would be better if we saw that he was actually like a stormtrooper. So the problem is, like, literally the first time we see his face is basically the point when we already know that he's going to kind of change allegiances. And I think it would be interesting if you had something that actually showed, because one of the things that Star Wars lacks is an understanding that stormtroopers are actual people. So I think it would have been interesting if you had stormtroopers and you saw their faces. You saw, like, hey, my name's Mark. My name's, I guess they don't have names because they're called numbers. My name's FN, blah, blah, blah. But, they're like still people. And then obviously, then they go to do their fight. And then you can have the thing where Finn changes. And I was thinking about it. This is when I wrote it down again. This is why it's 2 paragraphs. When Finn goes to, I can't even remember the action scene. During one of the many action scenes, a stormtrooper goes, traitor! and he takes out a
He
takes out a
fighting on
warhammer.
that green planet.
Takes out a giant warhammer and starts fighting him. And I was thinking to myself, it would be like interesting if you establish that stormtrooper, like if Finn. I kind of don't like the fact that they don't have. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about the fact they don't have names, but I think definitely like the interesting thing with Finn is like he clearly has a character, like he's clearly a person, and then it would be interesting to have people be like, hey, yeah, we're stormtroopers, blah blah blah.
And you want him to call it back to him? No, I'm not, Mark. After that,
no. See, I think we just know by his voice. That would be my plan. Just give the guy a really distinctive voice, like, oh, Finn, my friend, and then later on, traitor, and you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
I do wonder about the camaraderie of the stormtroopers.
Yeah, it is interesting because the thing is, I feel like, as we all know, most of the Star Wars universe exists in comics written by fat nerds who sit down and draw for like losers. And I feel like there's probably definitely an arc in there about like a stormtrooper, but this isn't really an arc about a stormtrooper. It kind of almost feels like he was accidentally a stormtrooper. It almost seems like he was a good guy who dressed up as a stormtrooper and then was like, why am I dressed up like a stormtrooper? You don't get a sense of like he actually ever was a stormtrooper.
Yeah, well, I was going to talk about this when Finn's character came up, but since you've done it, I guess I'll do it as well.
I forced your hand.
Yeah. No, I thought it was really interesting. Like, it was unique. One of the only unique things about this movie. Was that look, it's a stormtrooper's perspective or a former stormtrooper's perspective on the whole thing. Like, who are these people behind the masks, these white masks? It was interesting. I liked it.
Yeah, I just think like I don't think you really saw the person behind the mask because he didn't act like a person who would be behind that mask.
I don't know, but then if he does, then he can't be the hero. Yeah,
it is. I feel like it's kind of the limitation. Something I do wonder about, and I feel like this is something that almost certainly Rich Evans has said, is that the very nature of the Star Wars, like the way Star Wars works, means that there are certain concepts that are just too intelligent for it because you have to have, the dark side and the light and all that stuff. I don't know. Anyway, you can now talk about the plot to your heart's content, Luke, because I've said my 4 paragraphs worth of stuff.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say about the plot that this movie was. I don't know if it's because subconsciously I've heard people saying this, but when I watched it back this time, it did seem so designed, like so planned, and crafted. The movie, it hits all the right beats. It knows what to do. It's like, after this happens, then this happens. Then it makes sense to have this happen after that. It's just like, they've really, I can imagine spend a lot of time in the boardrooms. At Disney, like J.J. Abrams sits at the head of the table with all his writers around him, and and they come up with this really safe. I guess safe is the right word, but very well designed movie that really isn't that memorable. And the only reason it is memorable, I think, is the fact that it's a Star Wars movie. And I was thinking while watching it, I'm probably not going to remember this movie very much, and that may be because of what The Last Jedi did in kind of making this movie to a large extent irrelevant. Yeah. Obviously, we can talk about that when The Last Jedi comes around. Yep. But no, I just it just felt, like I said, so designed. Like they knew what they were doing and they executed it well, and they made $2 billion. Well done them.
Well done. Yeah, it definitely it felt by the numbers.
Yeah, like we talk about conveniences, Michael, and like you could say, oh well, how is it so well planned out when there's so many like convenient moments? But I just think people don't care that much about conveniences. Like I remember when I was watching it for the first time at the cinema, like I wasn't like, oh yeah, there's Rey and the Falcon and Matt all on Jakku. Like I wasn't thinking like that. It's just like, oh, this is what's happening next. And so I don't think anybody really is paying attention to the coincidences that much. And this movie, based and on what had gone before it, I think just needed to be competent. Like I said, safe, needed to hit all the right beats, and just make sure that it wasn't a disaster, like the prequels. And to be honest, Michael, I think it is a good time to start talking about the prequels, Obviously, this movie draws on inspiration, shall we say, from A New Hope, but also it tries to distance itself away from the prequels. And I just want to say on the and I think the reason why they tried to make it so safe, obviously because of what happened with Episode 1, 2, and 3, which had been trashed by Star Wars fans and the general public, I think, alike. I mean, like, for example, Attack of the Clones only made like $500 million, which is
Rubbish.
still very impressive, but for a Star Wars movie, you're expecting a lot more. Like, it's like, it made like half of what Phantom Menace did. And, I wasn't around, well, I was around in 1999, but I was only 3 years old at the time, when the Phantom Menace came out. As were you, probably.
I might have been 4.
Okay.
But
well,
I don't know what month it came out.
Yeah, we were both very young. We had no idea what was going on with the Phantom Menace. And so I can't say in my lifetime this movie was the most anticipated movie ever, because from the sounds of things, from listening to people, I believe the Phantom Menace was the most, was the most looked forward to movie of my lifetime. The movie with the most hype around it. But obviously I don't remember. So I remember in the build-up to this movie, this was The Force Awakens. It was like the movie in which everybody was, excited about or talking about. Like I'd never seen so much hype for a movie before The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And so that obviously, along with the hype comes pressure, and the pressure to succeed. The pressure, number one, to make sure it's not like the prequels. Number two, to make sure that it's a success, because obviously you got 7, 8, and 9. Well, sorry, you got 8 and 9 coming after, and it was really important to get Star Wars back on track and also to set up the next movies. So that is why I think they played it so safe and competent. I mean, it just makes sense, doesn't it? You just don't want to do anything too out there. You want to make sure it's planned. You don't want to get anything wrong. And look at the results. At the end of the day, like I said, you made $2 billion.
$2 billion.
Yeah, $2 billion.
They did also make $2 million.
Yes.
They made $2 million.
Did I say $2 million?
You did say $2 million.
All right.
Well.
Okay. Well, I meant $2 billion. They had a plan and they pulled it off. So yeah, there you go. Very impressive.
Yes. I pretty much agree. I actually watched the third one at the cinema. I do remember watching. I've got a question for you, Luke. Did you ever like the prequels?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I did too.
Because I was a dumb kid.
Yes, I remember I used to think that the Attack of the Clones was my favourite one, and it was unironically because of Yoda pulling out his little laser sword. Because I was like, 8 or 9, and I was like, wow, it's so cool.
Yeah,
flashing lights.
I'll tell you the one thing I really liked about the prequels later on in this podcast.
Okay.
We talk about something else.
I may tell you something I kind of liked about the prequels later on in this podcast. I mean, no, I'll tell you about it later. Okay. I actually wanted to bring something up because I realised I wanted to bring this up when we were talking about plot convenience, and I didn't mention it, but then you mentioned plot convenience again, and I was like, ooh, I need to talk about this. There is a internal defence within the film of why there are plot conveniences, and I just kind of want to bring this up and talk about it. I have my opinion on this. People say that it is the will of the Force, and that's something that I think was kind of introduced in the prequels. My stance on it just right away is that if you're going to go with it's the will of the Force that these two people meet, things like that, I don't think that excuse has ever been more abused in a Star Wars film. Because literally it's just like, it's the will of the Force that the Millennium Falcon would be there and BB-8 would be there. And
why does the ship they escape on matter?
Yes, it's dumb.
Why does the Force care about that? Is the Force nostalgic for the days of the Millennium Falcon too?
Yeah, see, I would assume that the will of the Force is kind of a very soft power. Like something that can kind of push things in a general direction. So, like, I'm kind of okay with having, for example, an unlikely situation occur, and it's convenient to the plot, and you go, okay, well, that is the Force doing its thing. The problem is there's unlikely, and then there's this film. So that's kind of, I assume you probably agree with that. I just thought it would be worth bringing it up, because that is a defense of the...
Yeah, it's a defense that, okay, sometimes like, okay, I'll give you that, but in this movie, like you said, it was abused quite thoroughly. One more thing though, before we can talk about something else, I just want to go back to the the fact that I was talking about how much hype this movie had and how much pressure it had, and obviously the people who made this movie knew that, so they made it safe and all that. But I just want to talk about something else that I think would have added to the hype. Nobody thought this movie was going to get made. Obviously, like George Lucas has said, there was going to be no episode 7, and it was unexpected that when they sold the right, when they sold the rights, obviously in 2012, Lucasfilm to Disney, that you expected that they're going to make a new episode 7. But it was kind of like a surprise, because after Revenge of the Sith, it was like, oh, that's going to be it for Star Wars. There's going to be no more Star Wars movies. But again, the fact that there was this episode 7, wow, and it was like branching out like this. They're creating new story, because obviously the prequels, you know eventually what's going to happen. So it's like it's a very new chapter of Star Wars, which again I think added to the pressure. So it just made, I just wanted to point that out. That I can understand why they really wanted to get this thing right and wanted to play it safe.
Yes, you can definitely understand the mentality behind wanting to do it this way. And I think J.J. Abrams was probably a good bet, because he managed to handle the nerdy Star Trek films.
Yeah.
No one wanted to watch Star Trek, and then he said, well, what if we made it like every other film? What if we took Star Trek but made it fun?
Yeah, the Starship Enterprise gets hit like 20 times in the whole, original series, and in the 2009 Star Trek gets hit every 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So there you go. Okay, so what do you want to talk about next?
I've got world building, but that's your thing technically, Luke. You just told me to write it down here. So.
Did I? I'm sorry. So world building. So actually no. Do you know what, Michael? We'll talk about the plot. So we'll talk about how it replicates a new.
Okay, I want to talk about this.
Yeah. Okay.
Because this is my. I mean, I guess maybe we should talk about how much it replicates it. First of all, just because why not? So, and maybe throw things in as you think. Obviously, it's on a desert planet. That's number one. I mean, it starts in a desert planet. It opens. No, it doesn't. I was going to say it opens with a space battle. It doesn't open with. Well, it does vaguely open with space. But yeah, it opens with a desert planet.
It opens with a dark figure looking for like a
plans.
Plans that are inside a droid. Yeah.
Yes, that's it too. And obviously there is a Death Star, but it's bigger. The entire plot of like people have forgotten the Jedi, that was a thing in the fourth film. It's a thing in this film. There is a resistance, which is exactly like the rebellion. The First Order are just like the Sith, and they have stormtroopers and TIE fighters, which is probably the weirdest thing. Like the fact that they have stormtroopers and TIE fighters is like weird, because it feels like almost as if, because this is a big universe, so I feel like not every dark force should have the exact same genesis. So it's kind of almost as if the Nazi party, had panzers, and then who's some other evil people? Who are some evil people who came after the Nazis, Luke?
Who were inspired by the Nazis?
No, well, yeah, inspired, yeah. But like a real power. No.
Okay. I'm sorry. No. Okay.
Okay, I know one. Alright, Serbia. So obviously in Serbia, in the 90s, there was of course a big racial genocide. But the people there, they didn't dress up like Nazis and have panzers and all that stuff. Just because they were
I think the First Order were inspired by the Empire.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, yeah. Anyway.
I mean, they're inspired down to a T, but still.
Yes. Then there is, of course, well, I guess you could talk about the fact the Millennium Falcon is in it and the characters are in it. I'm okay with that. I guess you are probably too. The other thing is, actually, no, that's fine. I was going to compare the Orange Woman to Yoda, but I guess that's kind of okay because that's not to do with the New Hope. There was one thing of course, the fact that they go to rescue, you've got Finn and Han Solo on the Millennium Falcon going to rescue this brunette woman who is captured on the Death Star.
Yeah, there's the trash compactor thing as well.
What's the? I might be being dumb. There is a trash compactor. You are right. Sorry, I was trying to remember where it was, and I put it in my head. Yes.
Yeah, and also the characters. Obviously, Rey very similar to Luke, a desert orphan.
Yeah.
Who I don't know, just I mean, I'm going to talk about this later with Rey's character, but the similarities between her and Luke are, I guess, Rey's waiting for her family to come back, and Luke obviously
has a family.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have a family, does he? He's got a mentor in Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but he had. Well, sorry, I was thinking he had Auntie Owen. He had Uncle Owen. He had them until they got burned alive.
Yes.
Actually, to be fair, we don't know that they were burned alive. They could have been killed and then subsequently burned. So that is misrepresenting the story.
Yeah, you don't want to be too harsh on the Empire.
No.
They could have done it in a humane way.
Yeah.
Okay, so
is that
then?
Yeah, I'll go with you.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, obviously, Kylo Ren, similar to Darth Vader, and obviously in this movie, like, he's a fanboy of Darth Vader. So you can say, well, you know what, like, that's okay because he wants to be like Darth Vader. So obviously he's going to seem like he is like Darth Vader. But again, it's kind of cheating.
Yeah.
And then there's Poe Dameron, who is your Han Solo type.
Yeah.
Dashing and brave and
sarcastic.
Sarcastic, yes. Likes a good quip. Also, he is one hell of a pilot. The only person who isn't based on a character, you could say, from A New Hope is Finn.
Yeah.
And that's why, obviously, like I said before, he's interesting.
Was there a particular demographic that was missing from A New Hope then?
Who
could it be? Anyway, yeah, I agree.
Finn's the new Lando Calrissian.
Yes. They got him in early.
Yeah, they did. They didn't make the mistake of A New Hope. They got the diversity in right away.
Well done.
Yeah.
It's 2015.
Yeah, very similar. This movie to A New Hope.
Yes.
Which obviously, like you said before, if you want to play it safe, how safer could you play it than making sure the movie is almost a remake or a soft reboot of A New Hope?
Yes.
Which was a very successful movie and is one of the most beloved movies and probably the most beloved movies. You want to satisfy Star Wars fans and critics. Well, how about this? It's A New Hope, just with a few differences. There you go. You happy now? Give us your money.
Yes, I want to talk about a few things. For me, the biggest problem that comes from this being a rehash of New Hope, and I think it's maybe my biggest criticism, is that by making it a rehash of A New Hope, the entire original trilogy becomes kind of irrelevant. Because obviously, for example, you brought up, how can people have forgotten the Jedi again? And the thing is, like, here's the problem. The A New Hope is about how people have forgotten the Jedi. Like, that's the thing, Han Solo, he doesn't believe in the Jedi. And then he kind of comes to believe in the Jedi. The Jedi come to prove themselves. And then 30 years later, he's talking to some other people who don't believe in the Jedi and don't believe in the Force. And he's like, yeah, I used to not believe in it too, but it's all true. But now we're back exactly where we started. And then, of course, there's all this effort to destroy this Death Star. And then now the Death Star looks kind of quaint. Like it is. and literally, there's all this effort to save this one planet, from destruction, this one rebel base. And then in this film, they just blow up loads of stuff. And it's like, and of course, there's not even, a story here it's not even like about the First Order rising, really. Like the First Order pretty much seemed to be an omnipresent force that appears no less powerful than the Empire throughout the entire film. There's no point where the Empire aren't doing very well. They're more powerful than the Sith were in, Phantom Menace. In Phantom Menace, they're stuck with just, hey, let's cause a trade dispute. In this film, they're like, let's blow up 5 planets. It makes it's a bit insulting to the legacy of the original, I think.
I mean, like, you could just say to Luke or Han Solo, obviously back in the old days, like, don't even bother. There ain't no point in saving the galaxy, because in literally just like another generation's time, it's gonna be the same problem. It's gonna have the same problem again, like an evil empire seeking to destroy and rule over everybody. And there you go. That right there is an issue which we will discuss more.
Yes, it makes me want to say in my head that this film isn't canon, because like I don't, when I watch episodes 4, 5, and 6, I want to believe that, like, I don't necessarily want to believe that the world was perfect from then on, but I at least want to believe it didn't revert pretty much exactly to where it was at the beginning of the series. There was one other thing I wanted to bring up. Are you familiar with You're Not Going to Be? I'm going to ask you if you're familiar with it, but I know you won't be. The Thrawn series.
Nope.
Okay, so I found this interesting. In the expanded universe, so when everyone found out that Star Wars was going to be made, or I think when everyone found out that Disney had bought Star Wars, a lot of people came out saying, like, Disney should make this, Disney should make that. And one of the things that I remember someone mentioned is Thrawn. And I kind of saw it mentioned every now and then, and here's the plot of Thrawn. And it pretty much couldn't have worked for a very obvious reason. The Thrawn series takes place immediately, it's named after, there's a general called Thrawn in it, it's the thing. It takes place immediately after the original trilogy. But its kind of point is that just because they've defeated the bad guy, aka Darth Sidious, it doesn't mean that the Empire and its infrastructure and its ideals have been eradicated entirely. And it's almost like kind of an Iraq war kind of thing. So obviously, you defeat Saddam Hussein really easily, but then that doesn't mean the war's over. So basically, Thrawn was about like the challenge of defeating the evil for good, and like dealing with the fact that you can't just defeat evil. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing. Obviously, they couldn't have done it because
I'm just imagining Luke Skywalker on a ship, like with a massive
mission accomplished. Yes. But yeah, like the thing is, like that works. Like it works to have kind of the jobs incomplete. The problem is the fact that it's such a long gap, and then also and I don't know. Anything else to say about it being a rehash?
No, I think you summed it up well.
Yeah, I actually have one thing. It's not really about it being a rehash. It's kind of more about the plot. But the other thing is, it being a rehash, it makes you compare it more to the original, and you realise that pretty much, a lot of what this film adds to the original kind of makes it worse. I mean, my main thing, for example, this film adds a lot of action scenes, and I think we both agree that kind of makes it a bit monotonous. The other thing is, this film, I don't think it has the patience of the original, because in the original, Luke never fights Darth Vader. And that shows a admirable restraint, because basically, his mentor fights Darth Vader and is killed by him, but you have to wait a whole, to the next film for that payoff. In this one, it's, Han gets killed, who Rey didn't really have that much of a reason to care about Han. Really?
Yeah, I mean, she sort of saw him as a father.
Yeah, and then
but she was only with him for like 12 hours.
And then literally before the film's over, she's already like fought Kylo Ren, and you're like, okay, so,
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. That they had to hit these beats. They had to make Rey fight Kylo Ren.
Yeah. Whereas obviously in the original, I mean, even when they do fight I was about to say the Phantom Menace. Even when they do fight in The Empire Strikes Back, Luke's not even like up to the task. You pretty much have to wait until the very end of the series to see Luke actually fight Darth Vader, because in the fifth one, Darth Vader's just toying with him. So yeah, I mean, it made me think like a lot of the things I was just thinking like, okay, well, it's a lot like the fourth one, except the fourth one was better. But yeah, anyway,
that is a good song.
Let's move.
It's a lot like the fourth one.
Let's move on to characters.
Yes, characters. Just by the way, Michael, after this,
you should, shouldn't you?
I gotta go. So yeah, you cut this bit out.
We're kind of close to the end actually, on my thing, but we'll end up talking for ages. Let's maybe just which characters do you have to talk about? I just have Rey and Kylo Ren.
Well, we'll save Rey to last.
Yeah.
So we got Finn, as we said, we like the unique his unique backstory. Not like we said, not one of the characters that was copied from the original series. Seems like a new character, a new personality, new backstory. Not someone who can be compared to somebody in A New Hope. Then we got Poe Dameron,
Han Solo.
Han Solo, yeah, standard stuff. We got Snoke, who's the old Emperor. Yeah, we've got General Hux, who's
what's his name?
Doing his best Adolf Hitler.
Tarkin. Tarkin is the name of the general in the original.
Yeah, but Tarkin wasn't as like just
Huxy.
Comedic.
Yeah.
Like Hux is just like a meme. Like he would be amongst his inferiors.
Yeah. To be honest, I have to say this. I'm going to bring up Jenny Nicholson again because she talks about Star Wars a lot. One of her, she made this video called like what she wanted to happen in Episode 8, and one of the things she wanted to happen was that Hux gets arrested, and a reason for it was she said like, I want Hux to get arrested because he just seems like I don't want him to be killed because I think he's too smarmy to die a noble death. He should just be carted off to prison. And the whole time I was watching, I was like, who the hell is Hux? I genuinely forgot who. And she was like talking about him like he had this like character, and I was thinking like, and then I was like, I watched it back and I was like, oh, Hux is just the meme character. Just the guy
Yeah, he doesn't
who
command
tells
respect
Kylo.
like Tarkin though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hux seems
Okay,
scared.
so now we're going to talk about Kylo Ren.
Yes,
Again, I like how he's sort of more layered.
Yes, he was possibly one of my favourite things about this film. I liked that he had a lot of raw emotion. It was, I guess you compare it to, for example, the prequels. The whole thing with the prequels is that everything seemed choreographed, everything seemed sterile, or sterile, as we say in Britain. But this guy, he's just, he smashes his lightsaber around when he gets angry. He is not very competent at fighting people because he gets shot and then he's emotionally manipulated. He's tempted by the light. So that's a really interesting idea. Like the idea of having, and I think that deserves credit. The idea of, because it's so typical in films, you have the good guy is tempted by the dark side or whatever it is. The good guy has temptations. You never see a film where it's the bad guy and the bad guy is wrestling with temptations to be good. So I thought that was an interesting.
Because everyone
you see Frodo's tempted by the ring, but there's never a scene where Sauron's like, "Oh, I really want to be a good guy."
Yeah, it makes it easier if the villain's just one dimensional.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy to kill him. Makes it simple, which is actually talking of Avengers: Infinity War, like we did at the start. Very interesting when it comes to Thanos, but obviously that's for a later podcast. I also like how he's a fanboy of Darth Vader. I thought that was nice. Like, he wants to be Darth Vader. Again, it gives him an extra bit of motivation, which is appreciated.
Yeah, although one thing I do think about that, what do you think about the criticism that, there's this idea that Darth Vader is a bit overhyped because in the Star Wars mythos, Anakin Skywalker is obviously a very good fighter. However, he gets burned and, turned into a cyborg pretty much. And from that point onwards, he's more of just like a symbolic guy who stands around with the Emperor, and he's, not great. Like, this is the Rogue One in particular turned Darth Vader into like a supervillain. But in the original, he's basically just he's portrayed more like broken and sad and relatively ineffectual. But like, obviously the thing is, I almost feel like Kylo Ren's love of Darth Vader was more of a reflection of our society's obsession with Darth Vader. And in reality, when you actually just look at the films, he's just like a glorified henchman. He's like one of the henchmen in James Bond that would just get blown up in a comedic way.
You have Tarkin's the lesser people, officers in the Empire, just insult Vader, like in A New Hope.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying, your devotion to that ancient religion is stupid or whatever.
Yeah. The irony is that Kylo Ren commands a lot more respect than Darth Vader, because General Hux is scared of Kylo Ren. And Tarkin didn't give a fuck. Tarkin was just like, "Wait, Darth Vader, you dickhead."
Get over here, Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I spilled some food. I need to clean it up. So that's a good point. But again, Kylo Ren doesn't know that. He doesn't know that.
So we can allow
just like a henchman.
Yeah, I mean, really, basically, what we need is more clarification on what happened in between. Really, what we need is for this film not to exist and a different film to exist with a similar character to Kylo Ren, but in a context where we can understand. I want to know, why did Kylo Ren change? I want to know that. We need a prequel trilogy to this. Yes.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll get it.
I'm excited.
Okay, now we need to talk about
Rey.
And we shall do that tomorrow, Michael.
Yes, I thought we would, because you've got to go. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I got to go.
Time for our intermission. Okay. And we're back from the intermission, and it's time to talk about Rey.
Yes. So the next character that we need to talk about, and obviously the main character in this movie, is Rey. Now, the thing is with Rey, Michael, is that she's a girl.
Ugh.
And, she's the main protagonist of the story.
So feminazis.
Yeah,
stole my Star Wars.
Yes. Rey. I mean, the thing is about Rey, she I don't want to say she doesn't have a personality, but I don't know. She seems quite bland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say this because I've heard people say the opposite, or I don't think Daisy Ridley is a good actor, and it's weird because something I said, I think right at the beginning, when on our first episode, Get Out, I said famously that I doubt my ability to recognize bad acting, because I think like I can always justify that a character just behaves weird. But I was watching it and I really struggled not to think to myself, that doesn't sound natural.
Yeah.
The line that I always this is the ship that made the Kessel run in 14 parsecs. It sounds so artificial.
Do it in her London accent.
This is the ship that made the Kessel run in 14 parsecs.
Cool, blimey, Mr. Solo. There's one fast rocket ship in it.
Change.
Yes.
Mr. Scrooge. Yeah.
So Daisy Ridley, not that good a performance, and I think I'd have to agree with you. Like watching it back, like especially at the very beginning, it isn't that good. It's not quite prequel level acting. I won't go that far, but it's certainly not that great. Okay.
I was going to say the thing about the prequel acting I could almost prefer because, and I do have a reason for this. This acting kind of seemed like, or Daisy Ridley, it seemed like she was kind of overacting. So it was like,
yes.
Whereas I feel like in the prequels it's just kind of bad acting, but you don't like, you can just ignore it.
It's like fake enthusiasm.
Yes.
Like especially when she's talking to Han Solo about taking rid of the compressor or something, when they're in the ship, and it's like, alright, nobody would get that excited. Like,
yeah.
Calm down. Yeah. But yeah. There's also the case that Rey is in fact a Mary Sue.
Yes, we need to talk about. So something that was my plan that we haven't done, but I'm fine with that, is I was going to talk about several big criticisms of this film, and two of them, which we've already covered, were the fact that this film has a lot of conveniences, and of course that this film is a rehash of A New Hope.
Both of which are correct.
Yes, and now we come to a very big criticism of this film, possibly one of the ones I've heard the most, is that Rey is a Mary Sue. And what are your
I've
opinions?
never heard of this phrase before, Michael, before Star Wars.
You know what, actually, I feel like it's one of those things where I don't even remember if I'd heard this phrase. I don't think I had.
Maybe I had, but I really doubt it. This is the first time I heard of anything like the Mary Sue.
Do you know what it's a reference to?
I don't. But
Okay.
I imagine it was a character called Mary. It was very powerful.
It is, okay. I do believe it's a Star Trek reference to a character who is a man, and they are called Mary Sue. Okay, you ready for this? Oh, okay, got it. The term Mary Sue comes from the name of a character created by Paula Smith in 1973 for her parody story A Trekkie's Tale. So, whoever the hell Paula Smith is, she made a Star Trek parody. Mary Sue's story is the adventure of the youngest and smartest ever person to graduate from the academy and ever get commissioned at such a tender age, usually characterized by unprecedented skill in everything from art to zoology, including karate and arm wrestling. This character can also be found borrowing her way into good graces, heart, mind of one of the big three, Kirk, Spock and McCoy, if not all three at once. She saves the day by her wit and ability, and if we are lucky, has the good grace to die at the end, being grieved by the entire ship.
So basically, she's good at everything. Everything. And obviously, the criticism of Force Awakens was that Rey is also good at everything. And to be honest, that kind of rings true for a lot of it.
Yeah, it's weird.
The fact that,
I'll let you.
Okay, the fact that she can navigate the Millennium Falcon at an expert level, having never flown it before, and also the battling with Kylo Ren and beating him even though he was injured, without any training, does seem to indicate that she is extremely talented at a lot of things.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of weird because, as with many things nowadays, the whole character of Rey became incredibly politicized. And we're obviously with our she's a woman jokes, we're not afraid of calling out the fact that it's been politicized, and there have been people who have literally, disliked her because she's a woman. Having said that, I think there have been a lot of people on the left, or I guess you would say more progressive woke people, who are who basically kind of say, well, the Mary Sue criticism is only made by angry sexists who are mad that Rey stole their Star Wars, and therefore Rey isn't a Mary Sue because that's what the bigots think.
And there's also the case of bigots not liking Rey, the fact that she's a woman, and then using the Mary Sue as an excuse.
Yes,
why they
exactly.
don't like her character.
Because I think, I mean, to me, she's a Mary Sue, and, I mean,
the thing is, like, it's more interesting if she isn't.
Yes, exactly.
Like, well, that's the key. It doesn't matter that what. I mean, the only reason why we're putting it out, really, is that it makes her story and the whole movie more entertaining if she has to struggle.
Yeah.
And she doesn't just go through the whole movie just solving everything and just, being an expert. If she fails at a couple of things, that's all right. It makes the end where she would have succeeded even more profound.
Yeah. It also kind of makes the story writing easier because.
Oh yeah. Whenever they get in a hole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can get anyone else situation because she's just great at everything. She can hack into the Millennium Falcon's thingy to shut the door on the Rathcars. Rathcars. There we go. I'm getting closer.
So here's the thing. I think the key criticism of people who are hardcore Star Wars fans relating to the Mary Sue argument is when Rey mind tricks the stormtroopers into letting her escape. So that's the thing. I remember, Michael, watching a CinemaSins video on The Force Awakens, and the guy who does it, the narrator,
Jeremy,
whatever he's called, Jeremy, that's it. He took a sin off for that scene because he said, "Well, Rey learning to use the Force on the fly and mind trick the stormtrooper or whatever, that's great. It's like a great scene." Then you go to the comments and like Star Wars fans are like, "No, you shouldn't have taken the sin off for that. How the hell does she, learn that skill that quickly? That's ridiculous. It's impossible to do that. You should add a sin on for that, not take one off. That's, you've got the complete wrong idea here." And so there's the criticism. There's two criticisms of the fact that Rey is a Mary Sue, and one of them is, it's like it doesn't make sense when you're talking about the lore of Star Wars or how hard it must be to become that powerful of a Jedi. It must take a lot of training, and she can do it instantly like that. It just doesn't make sense in the context of Star Wars. And then there's the other criticism, which is just not that interesting to the story.
Yes, there's the technical criticism and the narrative criticism. And
yes. Somehow,
CinemaSins, who are the best review show on the internet, thought that was a good thing. It's almost as if just nitpicking films is not a valid form of review, and that actually their opinions are rubbish. I hate them. Okay.
I feel like every CinemaSins every video we bash CinemaSins.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, have you got anything else to say about Rey? Because I want to say one more thing about it.
No.
Okay. So here's the thing. While I was watching this movie back, which kind of just it made me realise that the people at Star Wars really take for granted how much people know about Star Wars. Because the thing is with Rey, if you just imagine, Michael, you've never seen Star Wars before.
I'm imagining it.
You didn't have a clue what Star Wars is, okay? And you have Rey in the first half of the movie. What does she do? She helps Finn escape from Jakku, and she helps Han Solo, and then all of a sudden she's a Force user. Now here's the thing, like she finds that Luke's lightsaber in Maz Kanata's bar or whatever. That's another nitpick, actually. How the hell is Luke Skywalker's lightsaber right there?
The will of the Force.
The will of the Force. There you go. Fucking hell. But the fact is that we're so used. The Star Wars fans know that the Rey character is going to be the equivalent to Luke Skywalker. They know that, so they just accept, and they want Rey to just be this person who just happens to be powerful in the Force. The fact is that there's no indication that she is powerful up until she just happens to stumble across Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. The whole formula, there's no indication she's a powerful Force user. And so the point I'm trying to make is, what is her, with Luke Skywalker, you had him saying, "I want to be a great Jedi like my father." With Rey, she just stumbles upon being a great Force user, and after that, she doesn't even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
She uses all her Force tricks to, get out of being captured on the Starkiller base, and then after that, she doesn't even mention it to Finn or whatever. She doesn't. She's like, she should be like, guess what, Finn? I'm a powerful Force user. I had no idea. I can really use the Force. This is incredible. But it's like she knows she's meant to have this power.
Yeah. she uses the mind trick on the stormtrooper. She'd have no way of knowing that's the thing. Like, I want to know, like, what was it that made her think that she would be able to even attempt that? Like, it's like, the fact that she could do it is pretty ridiculous. The fact that, what they should have had really is a scene where Han took a midichlorian count and said, nobody's got a midichlorian count this high, not even Master Yoda. She must have a lot of midichlorians.
Yeah, she must. The thing is, it's not set up for her to be a powerful Jedi or a powerful Force user. The only way you know it's going to happen is because you've seen Star Wars before. You know her story is comparable to Luke Skywalker. But Luke Skywalker, it was set up for him because he said, I want to be like a Jedi, like my father, blah, blah, blah. You know, he knew he had it in him. But Rey, it's just like, all of a sudden she's a powerful Force user. Yeah,
and Luke uses the Force once in A New Hope. He uses the Force to guide the torpedoes. And as you'll know, if you play the Star Wars Lego video games, Luke's character can't use the Force until you go to Dagobah, and then he learns to use the Force in the Star Wars video games.
Yeah.
Which are canon.
That makes the New Hope just, again, another reason why it's a lot better than the Force Awakens.
Because of the Star Wars Lego.
Yeah. No, we've got to have Rey using the Force. We've got to have her winning in a lightsaber.
Here's another good one. I like this one. This one's my favourite. She's never fired a gun before. She fires one shot and she misses the stormtrooper, okay? Yeah. The next shot, she hits him, and all these stormtroopers are shooting at her. I mean, the thing is, the stormtrooper being bad at shooting criticism holds true for the entire franchise, but it's literally like, she doesn't even duck or anything. It's just like one stormtrooper pointing at her, she's pointing at him. He misses, 3-4 times. She shoots him on her second shot. Stormtroopers.
Yeah. And so, to sum up Rey's character, I think she's got a lack of background, a lack of motivation, and a lack of a personality, really.
Hold on, Luke, but she's actually really interesting because I'm sure that her parents are probably Kenobis or Palpatines, or that her parents are going to be important and related to people, and that makes her character interesting. Because that's what makes things interesting, people being related to people.
I know you're being coy there, Michael. But
we'll get into that in The Last Jedi. I think.
That's another thing we can talk about with The Last Jedi, exactly. But just Rey in this movie, just like she's just there, she just does stuff, and I mean, I guess she's the hero, but like she's just so uninteresting, and like I said before, just I don't know why she doesn't seem to acknowledge that she's this powerful Force user, which is crazy.
I think Finn, Poe Dameron, and Kylo Ren are all more interesting than her. Finn because he's the ex-Stormtrooper thing. Poe Dameron because he's just like a bit of an anti-hero rogue type. And Kylo Ren because he's just so cool.
He's so cool. Yeah, well, Kylo Ren's layered.
Yeah.
Oh,
I should point this out, to be fair, okay. A lot of people criticise the fact that Rey could beat Kylo Ren in the lightsaber fight at the end. The standard excuse is that Kylo Ren had just been shot, and also that he was really emotionally distraught, and therefore all of his training would have been very much nullified. So I'm willing to kind of let them off there. But,
the things that have gone on before, with Rey just doing a load of stuff in regards to the Stormtrooper.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you've already established she knows what to do.
Yeah.
So, if it makes sense in the context of the movie that she would have a good chance at defeating
Exactly,
Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
But
what next?
That's Rey's character. Disappointing, I'd say. Very disappointing.
Yes.
Could have been better.
Highly disappointing.
Okay, so we're moving on to world building.
Yes, the building of worlds.
Yes, and I want to say, well, not really the building of worlds, but the lack of building of worlds.
Yeah.
I thought the world building in The Force Awakens was pretty damn awful.
I think it was pretty darn awful.
Pretty darn awful. And the thing is, I like context in my movies, but when the First Order fire that massive laser beam in from the Starkiller base and blow up all those 5 planets and all those billions of people,
you didn't care.
You have no idea what it means.
Yeah, exactly. It is dumb. And like that's the thing. That's like such a second act thing. Like that's what you would have in your Empire Strikes Back. That explosion of all those planets.
It's like, maybe they blew up Alderaan, so they need to blow up some other planets.
Yeah.
But it can't just be one. Well, how about 5 then? It's like, what? Okay. Yeah, I mean, the fact is that you don't know how significant that is. I assume one of them is the Republic. Like, Coruscant is probably one of them.
Coruscant? Cut.
I'm always going to call it that. And, I would... The thing is, the whole setup to this movie is you've got the First Order and then you've got the Resistance. But, as has been pointed out before, they shouldn't really be the Resistance if they are the
government
ones. Yeah, they're just an arm of the government.
Yeah.
They should be like the status quo.
Well, you know what it is? It's kind of like how the Ku Klux Klan call themselves rebels, even though they were part of the established power.
It's like how Donald Trump can somehow say he's not one of the
that's probably the best analogy. Donald Trump saying he's anti-establishment. And it's like when Hillary Clinton said, well, I can't think of anyone who's more anti-establishment than the first woman president.
So, yeah.
Classic.
No, both of you are. Like, you're not, like, how can they call themselves the Resistance? They should be the Persistence.
Oh, that's a great name.
Persistence. Yeah, I know, thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, and so, okay. And obviously they just need to get the Republic out of the way, because obviously they want to replicate the original trilogy, and not the prequels. But, yeah, it's just, the lack of world building seriously hurts The Force Awakens, I think. And the thing is, the prequels, one of the things they did well, which I mentioned before, one of the things I really liked about the prequels was the world building. And I think that's why I liked it as a kid. You really got a sense of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
but the thing is, the prequels, despite having really good world building, still got slammed. And so, I guess people at Disney, good people at Disney thought, well, you know what? If world building doesn't matter, and clearly looking at the reviews it really didn't, then we won't focus on it. We won't bother with setting up the universe and setting up the Republic and the relationship between the Resistance and the Republic and the planets that are destroyed. We won't bother doing that because there's no point. And, and they were right to do so. It's does not matter. Does not matter.
Yeah. I tell you what, so I this is something that I kind of wanted to go into when we have our general Star Wars discussion, which is what I would do if I was in charge of Star Wars, but I'll say this. Spoiler for that discussion. One of the things that I would do if I was in charge of Star Wars is I would have like a competition or kind of like a thing where people can submit their own planets, because what you can do there is you can pool your resources, because one of the criticisms of Star Wars is that they have the desert planet, the ice planet, the jungle planet, the city planet. Everything is just an Earth environment planet. Yeah. Whereas I think, I kind of agree with you that the criticism of Star Wars is that it's a very limited universe. And really, Star Wars they should start with an idea of, okay, they should start with a map, a massive map, and they should say, because the thing is, obviously not every planet should be inhabited, but you say, like, okay, so here we've got, some planets are inhabited over here, what are they? And, just write down, just have a variety of worlds, maybe even different competing factions on the planet, the race, what their deal is, things like that. And you just, spend maybe even a couple of months in pre-production getting this elaborate galaxy where you've got all these different worlds. And then what you can do is next time that you want to tell a story, you can go, okay, let's slowly introduce these worlds. Let's expand this universe through the story. But yeah, I feel like, you don't feel like you're exploring a universe in this. You just feel like you're watching some people fly around for a bit. Yeah,
I mean, I can't remember the planet that they went to on with the bar and they had a fight and when Kylo Ren captured Rey. Can you remember that planet? Its name?
Okay, so I actually think this is maybe wrong. I think that it may be called Yavin, and the reason I think that is because I think that they mentioned that it was near the. Well, actually, no. What I'm basing on is it looked like where the old Rebel base was, and the old Rebel base was on a place called Yavin 4.
Maybe.
Are you familiar with the Star Wars dating system? It's the most nerdy thing. Okay, so it's ABY and BBY, which stands for after and before the Battle of Yavin, Yavin. And Yavin, the Battle of Yavin is the battle at the end of the New Hope, and that's how you date things in Star Wars. There you go. Oh. So for example, Mace Windu died in 19 BBY.
Okay, so what's this got to do with...
Well, what I'm saying is that that's why I know what Yavin is. And I'm...
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Glad we did
well,
that.
To sum up... Yeah, very interesting. To sum up on the world building, Yeah, like I say, just pretty. Sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm whispering, muttering about how much I hate it.
Yeah, it's pretty poor. And yeah, I just wish they'd put more time and focus into it, because then I'd really, I think, enjoy the movie more. And that's why, like I said, as a kid, I like the prequels. But yeah, what's the point in putting the effort in if nobody's going to care?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so I think we're done, really, Michael.
Yes.
Do you want to do your conclusion to The Force Awakens first?
Yes. So obviously I said I hated this film, and I don't know. See, the problem is, obviously, this is, like you say, a competent film. And if I had to describe where I would place this film, I would say that this is my least favourite competent film that we've watched so far. Because there are films that are, incompetent, in that, they're never going to be good. This is one of those films where, like, you can tell that there was some effort there. Like, it's not like a bunch of morons, and it didn't feel as cynical as other films, but it felt bad. And to me, the big problem I have with this film is what I said. I did actually say this while reviewing it, which is that canonically in my head, I really don't want this film to exist. And because of the way that it completely makes the original trilogy just irrelevant and ineffectual, and it doesn't do anything. And that ultimately has a knock-on effect in that it also means that I don't really care. Like, everyone's mad about The Last Jedi, and we'll talk about whether or not we like The Last Jedi later, but the thing is, like, even if I liked The Last Jedi, I wouldn't care, because it can only ever be a follow-on from a film that I really just refuse to acknowledge is the conclusion to Return of the Jedi. So to me, when I find myself saying that, I sort of have to say that is hatred. And I could appreciate maybe people saying, well, I mean, like, I could understand, like, it's not like I was watching it and I hated it and it made me angry. But I didn't like, I mean, there's some people who say that this film is worse than prequels, and I don't agree with that. But
no, I wouldn't agree with that.
There is, I want to talk a bit about, like, what is good about the prequels, and you've mentioned, for example, the fact the world building is better. One of the things I liked about the prequels is that they were original stories, and something I've always kind of done with the prequels is I accept them as Anakin Skywalker's origin story. I just imagine that it was told by an idiot. Like, like they're sat around a campfire, and they're like, "Hey, tell me the story of how Anakin Skywalker became a Jedi." And then this drunk, fat, George Lucas looking person comes in and is like, "I'm going to tell you this story about, we're going to start when he's 10, and then we're going to suddenly jump forward until he's like in his early 20s, and then..." Anyway, like, and that's the thing. I
can just imagine him battling on about trade negotiations.
Yeah, and everyone's
just asking, like, wait, what?
Yeah,
what's a trade?
Everyone's like, what's he doing? But, like, the thing is, like, I feel like it satisfies me, because I'm like, yeah, okay, that's pretty much what happened, There was a guy called Anakin, and he got tempted by the dark side, and then he became Darth Vader. So I can agree with the essence of the story. I guess I would say I can agree with what the story's trying to do. The story is trying to say, here are these two people who were friends, then one of them became evil, and then the other one became Obi-Wan Kenobi, or was Obi-Wan Kenobi. This film, I can't even agree with what it's trying to do, because it's trying to be like, okay, so that time when the people completely saved the galaxy? Well, now, everyone's forgotten about them, and the Republic has just been destroyed, and there are these new guys who are seemingly just as powerful, if not more powerful, than the Empire.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
where would you put it then?
So I would put it, and I'm quite happy to do this, because it's nice to give this film a buffer zone between it and Tomb Raider, because I'm putting this film below Dunkirk, because up until this point Dunkirk was my least favourite competent movie, and I kind of felt bad about that, because Dunkirk is a very competent movie, and it felt so mean. But yeah, I'm going to put The Force Awakens below Dunkirk, still above Tomb Raider. Like I say, it's not one of those films like so bad it's good or so bad it's bad. It's just the essence of what it is bad.
That's fair enough. So Michael, what do I think about this film? Well, like you, I mean, it's hard to rate lowly a movie that's competent, but I just get the sense while watching it, like I said, that everything seems so designed. Like all the people who were creating the story, there was I imagine them asking, "Oh, should we put this in, or should we put this bit of context in?" And then the decision was no, because people won't be paying attention to it. Let's just get them onto the next thing. Keep the audience happy, keep them keep the flow going, and don't stop for anything that might enhance the film overall. I just thought of another example just then. The Resistance don't really seem to care that the Republic just got blown up, and the other 5 planets, they just don't seem to care, and that's because us, the audience, don't really care because we're just moving on to the next thing, moving on to the next battle. That's all new. The planets have been blown up, whatever, run to the next thing. And obviously, Leia hugging Rey at the end of the movie. That shouldn't happen. That doesn't make sense, but it's nice for the audience, I guess, to see those two characters embracing each other. Having said all that, obviously, it's like you said, it's just competent. It's not bad. It's better than the prequels. And I guess this is what happens when you compare a movie written by a crazy old man in a ranch in California to a bunch of Disney people and screenwriters who know what they have to do. They know this has to be a success. This cannot be a failure, because if it is a failure, the whole future of Star Wars could be in jeopardy. Because they needed a good launching pad to kickstart this new Star Wars venture that they're doing.
Cinematic universe, Luke. It's a Star Wars cinematic universe.
Oh God, yes, exactly. So I appreciate that they had to play it safe, but yeah, this was just too safe, and I don't think I would probably like to watch it again. To be honest, it's not something that I want to watch, and that's a shame because I like Star Wars.
I fucking love Star Wars.
I love Star Wars. I just can't watch this again and be like, you know what? I'm gonna get excited. I just can't appreciate it that much.
Yeah, I could watch the original trilogy.
Yeah.
I could watch any film from the original trilogy right now. Just if you're like, hey, Michael, do you want to watch a film from the original trilogy? I'd be like, yeah. But no, there's going to be even years from now, someone's going to be like, hey, do you want to watch Force Awakens? I'm like, no, I'm good.
No, I don't want to watch Force Awakens. No. So and as we talked about the replication of A New Hope, that's bad as well. That's playing it too safe. The lack of world building, again, that's a shame. Characters, some are good, some are bad, particularly the main character, which again is a shame. And yeah, I'm just I watched it the first time in the cinema, and I was I was relatively excited going in, and it's disappointed slightly, but overall it was okay. It was good. It was like Star Wars is back. It was a competent movie. But having watched it again, you just realise that this isn't that good.
Yeah,
I am disappointed.
This is another example of one of those films that kind of validates the point of this podcast, which is that I think definitely, when it's the first Star Wars film, the start of a new trilogy, you're like, oh, I'm excited, but then when you realise
you watch it and it's not a disaster, has some nice sequences. It's like, yes, Star Wars is back, but then you see other movies and then you see this one, it's like, this isn't as good as I thought it was.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Good stuff.
Yeah, could have been better. Could have been better in a lot of ways. It is a shame.
Also, that's your first time in a while that you haven't used a 0.5.
Yeah, I know. Well, there you go. Just a plain old 6 for the Force Awakens.
What did you give Dunkirk? Do you remember?
7.
Do you have it on a spreadsheet?
Yeah,
Spreadsheets are useful. Wait, is there anything between The Force Awakens and Dunkirk?
Yeah, I believe. Avengers
Age of Ultron,
Avengers Age of Ultron 6.5, and The Disaster Artist, I think we give a 6.5.
Okay, that makes sense. Anyway, so this has been our discussion of Star Wars The Force Awakens. I feel like I've been Michael, and Luke, you can do your wrapping up.
Yeah, I've been Luke. Thank you for listening to The Force Awakens, and join us next week when we will be discussing another blockbuster movie, Daddy's Home, and Daddy's Home 2.
Yes.
With a special guest.
Yes, a special guest. Dylan.
I know you've all been pining for the return of him.
Yep.
Dylan, he's back.
So excited.
Better than ever. Very excited. Anyway, thanks for watching, and
keep
goodbye.
watching the skies. I felt like I said that at the end of another one of our episodes.
Yeah, you definitely did. That's right.